Ole MissMississippi State, NavyHouston, USFUCF, AlabamaAuburn, Washington State, Washington, Arizona State, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, Michigan, Boise StateFresno State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas AMLSU, and Notre DameStanford provide plenty of reasons to turn on the TV this Thanksgiving weekend. With 4 rivalry games, the Iron Bowl, the Game, Palmetto Bowl, and Apple Cup feature a trip by a team with a playoff shot to its competitive rival. In the case of the Iron Bowl, that rival also is in the playoff discussion. Though the SEC West and Pac-12 North are the only Power 5 divisions still to be decided, this weekend provides plenty of intrigue. Receiving consideration: South Carolina 83, Troy 82, Iowa State 74, West Virginia 74, Wake Forest 74, Texas A&M 74, San Diego State 92, NC State 74, Toledo 92, and Arizona 74-25. South Florida 91 last week. NR defeated Tulsa 2,720. The biggest game between Florida teams this year? Not the Gators v. Seminoles, it's the Battle of Central v. South. Charlie Strong's team can make a statement with this game. 24, Virginia Tech 83 last week. 24, defeated Pitt 2014, after the Cavaliers made it interesting against Miami. Could the Hokies have a tough end-off-season contest? Perhaps, but I'm guessing Justin Fuente's crew will find a way to win. 23, Michigan 83 last week. 21, lost to Wisconsin 2,410, with a disappointing season for the Wolverines winding down. The Big Ten powers that be will be united in rooting against Michigan as they face Ohio State. Should win, the conference would be in great risk of missing the playoff. 22, Boise State 92 last week. 23, defeated Air Force 4,419. The Broncos have now won 7 straight but can't afford to overlook a trip to Fresno this week. 21, Oklahoma State 83 last week. 16, lost to Kansas State 4,520. In a week with few top losses, the Cowboys stand out for the wrong reasons. Their Big 12 title hopes vanished with the loss. 20, Stanford 83 last week. 20, defeated Washington 3,022. A narrow handling of rival Cal sets up an exciting last week for Stanford. With Notre Dame on the horizon, Stanford fans will also become huge Washington fans in the hopes of reaching the Pac-12 title. 19, Northwestern 83 last week. 22, defeated Minnesota 390. After starting off 23, the Wildcats are one of the nation's hottest teams. They should easily handle Illinois this week, and I would not want to see this team in a bowl game. 18, Mississippi State 83 last week. 19, defeated Arkansas 2,821. It's highly likely that the Bulldogs just gave the killer blow to Brett Bielema's tenure at Arkansas. The victory perhaps also sealed Don Mullen's status as one of the nation's most sought-after coaches. 17, Washington State 92 last week. 18, by some deft scheduling gave the Cougars a week off before a significant contest against Washington. 16, LSU 83 last week. 17, defeated Tennessee 3,010. The Bayou Bengals had no problem against the SEC East program that is about as low as a program can go. A win over Texas A&M to conclude the season would really give Edo and company something to hang their hat on. 15, Washington 92 last week. 15, defeated Utah 3,330. In a down year for the Utes, Washington only managed to squeak by. Though not as big as it looked earlier this year, the Washington State matchup will be 1-2. 14, USC 102 last week. 14, defeated UCLA 2,823. USC concluded its regular season with another W over UCLA in what has become a very lopsided series. The Trojans are 144 since 2000. 13, Penn State 92 last week. 12, defeated Nebraska 5,642. Saquon Barkley finally put up Heisman-esque numbers as Penn State won a shootout against Nebraska. 12, TCU 92 last week. 13, defeated Texas Tech 273. TCU is now one win, a foregone conclusion over Baylor from being Texas champions. Then, one win would make them Big 12 champs with a very outside shot at the playoff. 11, Memphis 91 last week. 11, defeated SMU 6,645. In a shootout, Memphis beat a very solid SMU team. East Carolina is a tune-up ahead of the AAC title game. 10, Notre Dame 92 last week. 10, defeated Navy 2,417. While Notre Dame is almost certainly out of the playoff picture, the Fighting Irish managed to scrap their way to a slim victory over Navy ahead of the contest against Stanford. 9. Ohio State 92 last week. 9. Defeated Illinois 5,214. Michigan last beat Ohio State in 2011, and this does not look like the Wolverines team to do it. The Buckeyes are not out of the playoff picture yet. 8. UCF 100 last week. 8. Defeated Temple 4,519. With Scott Frost likely Nebraska bound, UCF fans should enjoy this romp through the American while they can. A big matchup against USF provides intrigue this week. 7. Auburn 92 last week. 7. Defeated Louisiana Monroe 4,214. The Tigers overcame a sluggish start to put away the Warhawks. Auburn needs mistake-free football to beat the Tide. 6. Georgia 101 last week. 6. Defeated Kentucky 4,213. The Dogs put an embarrassing loss at Auburn behind them. It is tough to imagine Kirby Smart's team falling to Georgia Tech, the last contest before a matchup either against the coach's former squad or a rematch with the Tigers. 5. Clemson 101 last week. 5. Defeated Citadel 613. The strange loss to Syracuse will not keep the Tigers from the playoff. However, Clemson should never overlook a trip to Columbia, and Miami will be a very difficult foe for the conference title. One thing to consider: could the committee put a Tuala's Auburn team ahead of a Tuala's Clemson team? 4. Wisconsin 110 last week. 4. Defeated Michigan 2,410. Regardless of current rankings, Wisconsin has a spot in the playoff if they keep winning. The Badgers should get a win in Minnesota, but Ohio State in the conference title will be a challenge. 3. Oklahoma 101 last week. 3. Defeated Kansas 413. Oklahoma still has West Virginia in the Big 12 title game, but they sit in a very strong position heading into the final week of the regular season. 2. Miami 100 last week. 2. Defeated Virginia 4,428. The Hurricanes gave their fans a scare early against the Cavaliers, but they bounced back to preserve a top 49 spot. Only a trip to Pittsburgh and a big game against Clemson stand in the way of Mark Richt returning his alma mater to national prominence. 1. Alabama 110 last week. 1. Defeated Mercer 560. As usual, the Tide took care of business against lowly Mercer in a tune-up ahead of a Big Iron Bowl.